Back on the Chamber Report, time now for member profiles, a chance for you to find out who some of the almost 600 members of the Anoka Area Chamber of Commerce are. This gentleman has been on this show before, but it was time to get him back in here for a couple of reasons. One, to find out what's happening over at Connexus Energy and what's happening in the whole world that is that industry. And also to, well, I'll save that part for the end. Greg Ridderbusch is with us from Connexus Energy. Greg, welcome back. Last time we had you in, we were celebrating Connexus Energy as one of the Anoka Area Chamber of Commerce member businesses of the year, and well-deserved then and continues to be. Tell us what's happening and what's new over at Connexus Energy.
Well, Pete, first, thanks for having us on again.
You bet.
Appreciate that much. Of course, most of the audience, for those that don't know, we're the electric utility that serves customers north of the river, west from St. Cloud, pretty much to the east, and then maybe touching up into Cambridge and Princeton. And so we're a power supplier there, and for about the last 2 years, there's so much going on in how we keep our rates affordable and the service reliable, and we've been working on power supply. Yeah. And we've been trying to say, what do we need to do now, especially with the new law, the 100% by 2040, how do we need to organize so that we have flexibility, so that we can go after lower cost resources, and so that we can green our energy supply over time. And so that's what we've been about. We've renegotiated the way that we are getting electricity from all of our suppliers, including our longest term legacy supplier. And just so you know, the 2 years wasn't wasted time. We just finished getting ready for 2024, and there's no rate increase for 2024 for Connexus consumers. So we're happy to do that, and we're happy to be as reliable as we can be for them also.
You know, I had an opportunity to be a part of a special group that you put together as you guys started to look out into the future and what some of the changes needed to be as you started to just kind of change the model. Greg, one, thank you for letting me be a part of that. Two, it was so interesting just to get a little bit more inside depth information about how an energy company works, how they get what they get, and more importantly, how you start to shift some things away, especially from coal. That's the hot one that everybody is kind of hearing about, that, okay, we got to start moving away from that. But talking about solar and talking about panels on houses and about how a utility handles that and how you do these types of things, it was fascinating for me to be a part of that and just see, and I was so impressed with the Connexus team. Boy, you have good people in places that you need them. They're extremely knowledgeable, but also letting it be known to a guy who does not understand all of this stuff, but really laid it out for us to be able to, number one, understand what it is that we were looking at, and then be able to kind of talk about it. Obviously, I was there representing business from our standpoint and what their needs moving to the future were going to be. But wow, that was it was fascinating. And I know that's just step one of many,
right?
But an important step that you guys took.
So you're talking in general about how do we plan when all of a sudden the law of the land is to be completely green and renewable by 2040?
Yeah.
And that's not something you do overnight, and we needed a lot of advice as we were looking at our options, and that's what played out this last year. We did a resource plan, and we said, where's our electric vehicle load going? What are consumers wanting to do with solar on rooftops? What's happening in general with the efficiency of homes? And then forecast that all forward. And I'm happy you said something about our staff, because there's some really, really smart people that work on that. Yeah. And what comes out of that kind of exercise, where we look for input from a lot of different folks, including the solar sector, and we're, what should we be doing with batteries, and how fast is it going to grow, all those things. At the end of the day, you say, what do we need, what do we have, and then how do we fill the gap? Yeah. And what do we fill the gap with? When do we add more solar? What's our rooftops going to look like? Where's all those EVs going to be? Yeah. And as we think about all that, what comes out of it is a lot of different options, and then we plan for the best case for our consumers that meets law of the land in terms of requirements, that keeps it affordable, keeps it reliable, and then what? You can't know with precision, right?
Sure.
So you update every couple of years, you go back and look at it. So we're going to be asking you again in a couple of years to come back in and represent business.
Sure.
But that's what you're talking about
Yeah.
is resource planning, and that's all the utilities are doing that nowadays to figure out how we go about this next task.
Yeah, it was fun, it was impressive, and would love to come back. One of the things you'd mentioned about gaining flexibility for more economic development, let's talk about that.
Well, a lot of consumers, they all have something different that they need.
Yep.
And the most interesting one recently, that's kind of case in point, we are very happy to be serving the new Amazon distribution center in Centerville. And we were there recently with Mayor Love for the groundbreaking. But that center, if you haven't been out in the eastern side here, maybe 20 miles east, you can now see Amazon trucks that are all electric. And they have 3 distribution centers to our understanding. And this is the one that said, let's try these distribution trucks. And you go out and you see them, it's like George Jetson. I mean, they're really cool. And we are very happy to be able to assist them, support them, do what we need in terms of their fleet. They'll have quite a few of those trucks as they build out completely electric. So doing that to make sure you have the right power lines going in, the right transformers, how do you make sure that it can be there when they need it every single time, so you work with them. And that's an example of a new kind of customer, a fleet of vehicles that we've never seen before. Another thing that we're doing is on our grid itself, we're looking for areas to put renewable resources in. And you know what? You don't go to the highest priced real estate in the middle of a city and say, hey, we're going to do it there. Where can we fit it in land that is not really strong economic development for other purposes? And so we're going to be working on one in Ramsey where we're going to be putting some solar panels around a closed landfill, not on top of it, around it. And it's a way to take advantage of land that's there that may not have other uses, but we can use it to develop reliable, affordable, renewable energy for consumers. So that's new. And then maybe one last, if I can.
Sure.
I think you might know that we are a leader in the use of batteries, large-scale batteries. And we have on the edge of our system, Bad Nays Heights, it's grown up, and the substation where we deliver energy to everyone is kind of right at its top during the summer. And doesn't have, and when it gets really hot, in the next couple of years, we're concerned that we're not going to have enough there to make sure it's reliable. Well, in the past, we might have said, oh, we need to shut that down, take the old transformer out, put a really big one in. Now, we're going to put some batteries there. If you let me use the word topping capacity, when you get near those moments that you need more, bang, turn on the battery, cruise through that peak, and then at the other side of it, the battery's discharged, you made it through it. That's the only place in the state, to our knowledge, that's being tried, and we're going to do it there in Bad Nays Heights. We're appreciative of the support we've gotten from the community there. And then as it works, we'll share it with others that want to try it.
So interesting. It's been a big year for energy-related topics. And it seems, Greg, like things are changing so fast. What do you see changing?
What don't we see changing?
Sure.
But to that, most everyone kind of thinks about what's happening with rooftop solar. So as we thought about our plan, we have about 1,500 rooftops today. That's a lot, but we're about 145,000 account system. We see by 2033 for there to be 20,000.
Yeah.
And we see the solar industry that's helping consumers with those kinds of projects. We see it being a significant opportunity, and we need that generation. Why? For a lot of things, but electric vehicles are out there.
Yeah.
And electric vehicle, when you bring one to your house, it's depending on the size of your house, it's somewhere between maybe a third to a half of the home. Where's all electricity going to come from? Well, it's kind of coming from the grid, and it's coming from wires. But we also want it to come from rooftop that's spread out. And electric vehicles, we have about 2,000 on our system today. We think it's going to be as high as 14,000 in 2033. There's some folks that think it might happen sooner, and some they're like, oh, I'm not sure if that's for me. But for the consumers that want it, that are on Connexus' system, we're going to be ready.
Good.
And so those are some of the things that are changing out there on top of the bigger questions you've already raised, which is what's the energy supply going to look like?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. There's a lot to like there. So that's a lot of industry changing happening. What will stay the same at Connexus?
Okay, I'm looking right at our consumers today.
Okay.
Okay. What will always stay the same is our ethic of service and our focus on reliability and affordability. And if you ask consumers, I think a lot of them would say, especially on a cold day like today, reliability is first and foremost.
Yeah.
Also on hot days, but on cold days, it really is important.
Yep.
And then we serve all kinds of consumers, and I think we all notice how expensive things has become in the economy recently. And we've been doing our best to make sure electric supply, which when there's tough times out there, everyone, and we are at home, they were at home during COVID, they want it to be affordable. So reliable, affordable. Then, with that, we're greening the grid. And if you ask some folks, they'd say, all right, if you're reliable and affordable, that's good enough for me. If you're going to green the grid and keep it that way, I'm A-okay with that. And there's others that would say, it's really super important that you do that. And that's the law of the land now, and we do. And the other thing I would say that hasn't changed is our enthusiasm about being part of the North Metro economy. You know.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great place to live and work. A lot of businesses that are up here that are new ones, growing, and we just feel privileged that we get to serve that load and help consumers as they're trying to start their businesses or live up here in the North Metro.
You know, one of the things, Greg, and I deal with new business all the time, the potential of business who is thinking of coming to the area. And I have never heard an issue that they had any kind of a problem with their electric needs at the buildings either they are in or ones that they were talking about building. And that says everything. The fact that I have not heard that, because trust me, if somebody's got a problem, obviously they're going to reach out to a lot of players, but we always hear those types of things. I've never heard it ever in 35 years at the Chamber, and to be honest with you, there's not a whole lot of members and businesses where I can actually say that, and that says a lot about just what the mission of Connexus Energy is, and that's to take care of the customer not only in today, but also for tomorrow's needs and everything else. So just hats off to you and the crew.
You know what I want? I want that to always be able to be said about Connexus.
Yep.
You know, when someone moves to the area, is this the right area? Are there employees that have the skills that can come to my business? Is my market here? And all those things are the fundamentals first. You don't want something like water, which isn't our bed, but electricity and all these things to be the reason that's a problem for someone to locate in the North Metro. And it will never be that way.
Yep.
And our account managers and our staff, when you call up, whether you're an existing customer that is wondering what's going on with my water heater or this or that, we'll get someone there to help them with that. But when it comes to new growth in this area, we will be an enabler, and we will be there. And I hope what you said was what will always be said about Connexus.
No doubt. All right, so last fall, there was an announcement made talking about the beginning of an orderly CEO succession plan, which means Greg gets to go have some fun at some point and turn the chapter of the Greg book into what will be next. So what's the plan?
Oh, you don't want a Greg book. That would bore you to no end. What I will say, too, is this job is more than a job for me. It is the part of my career I've enjoyed the most. So I'm not going on just to more fun. I love what I'm doing. And Connexus is in a great place. The leadership team, the board of directors, the employees just have that business rolling, rocking and rolling. So I'm leaving at a point where I have such optimism for what Connexus can do next. But time moves on.
Sure.
I have a wonderful spouse that I want to spend a lot more time with.
Yeah.
We want to go camping. We want to go see the big 5 parks in Utah. And I think it's time. So last fall, talked with key board leaders and said, this is what I'd like to do when they're ready and take the time. So they've been at it for a couple of months. It's getting close to when I think they're going to find someone that they want to take the company forward. And when they do, it'll be time for me to transition and move on. That will very likely be sometime in February, and we'll certainly let you know as that's occurring.
Great. Well, you know, your legacy at Connexus is set, solid, and impressive. And so I hope that you feel very good about what you've done there. Hey, congratulations on getting there. I told you when you walked into the studios that I'm jealous. I'm not there yet, but I'm hoping to follow you to one of those parks in the very near future. But well-deserved. Hats off to you, and wish you nothing but the best as you do continue to write that book that is Greg. And I bet it's got some, and trust me, mine is boring as well, but sometimes boring is okay. And going to a national park may seem boring to others. To me, that's a great and exciting time, and so congratulations.
Well, Pete, you're too kind, and what I will invite you to is you can pull up to our campfire any day.
There you go.
We'd love you to be there. Thank you so much.
You bet. He is Greg Ridderbusch. He is president and CEO of Connexus Energy. All right, we're taking a break. When we come back, we will have our next one up on member profiles, and we'll do it right after this.